Awesome. So
All right.
welcome to the Multiboxing Podcast, episode 3 now. Crazy to
Yeah.
think that it's week 3. It feels like
know.
it's been longer though. Like I feel like we've been doing this for months. It just
Yeah.
feels good.
I think there was a lot
we're-
of prepreparation.
Yeah, that might
to
be
it.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like it's been something we've been working on for a while. And I know we put in a lot of effort to make sure it's good every week.
Oh yeah.
So we're joined today with Wootenblatz. Wootenblatz? I
Hey
don't know.
guys, how you doing?
How should we
Yeah.
Are we saying that right?
Should-
Is it
Yeah,
the official?
how is it actually pronounced?
Yeah, it's Wootenblatz. It's
All right.
it's like Woot and Blatz, you know? Yay,
Yeah.
beer. Basically it. It's no more complicated.
I used to say woot all the time too.
Yeah, me too.
What's like the is that actually like kind of German-ish, or is that like what it's supposed to be a nod
Oh my
to?
gosh,
Or
no. So when I played Classic, I had a gnome warlock named Pusox that I took to 60, and I got reported for my name. It's really dumb. So I had to pick a new one. And this was, right after college. And I used to drink a lot of Blatz. And that's that. It's really
So-
kind of juvenile.
Funny enough, I raided on a warlock named Krusty Socks for a while,
Nice.
in the name of Poo Sock. So I'm right there with you on the
It's
being a
weird. I
child.
got a lot of people when I had that name telling me they liked it, but then you get the folks who just maybe.
I had no one appreciate Krusty Socks. I'm not even gonna lie. I still think it's hilarious. I'm such a child. So
It's
I
good to
guess
have fun.
so. I guess for those of the viewers that don't know who you are, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, so I've been kind of hanging around the multiboxing community for a little while or a little while recently. I started playing WoW like December of 2004. But before then, I played pretty fair number of MMOs. I think the first one I played was Lineage, which is about 98 or so. I don't know, I didn't play it that long, and a whole bunch in between there, like Anarchy Online, Dark Age of Camelot, Star Wars Galaxies. I mean, I could list a whole bunch. I never really played many of them long, and I think WoW was the only MMO where like no matter how many times I went to check out a different game, I always came back.
Yeah, it
And
has
so
that effect, doesn't it?
it does. The thing is that like a lot of those MMOs, like they always got something that like kind of draws you in, and some of them last longer than others, but there's just something about just the gameplay. I mean, the story, in so much as there is one in a while, and just the mechanics and everything that's changed over the years. It's still like it's got so much to just like keep you interested. And
very
I always came
polished.
back to it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
I
super
agree.
polished, and like even if like you hate like artifact power grinding or something like that, like at least you can rely on the combat to be like it's fluid. Even if like something's super OP, at least it's like fluid. It feels good.
Yeah, it's funny because it's kind of stuff you take for granted. You go to different MMO,
Yeah,
start to see
absolutely.
all these little tiny things. Just like,
Oh my God.
man, that don't really do it for me.
For those of us playing Rift, we know that feeling all too well. It's like this feels really good, and then we get to the point where it doesn't, and it feels really bad.
Yeah.
I played Rift when it came out. I jumped ship on WoW and I played for probably 9 months. I just had a kid around that time, so my first one, and yeah, it really wasn't quite as into it, but it was a lot of fun. Like the rifts were a really interesting idea, but it's like eventually got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm just playing this, and there's like sort of miss that thing to like keep you engaged, I guess.
They were missing in-game, like on launch. They had a lot of gaps on in-game, and then all the cool stuff they had didn't perform well. Like you had these big PvP rifts, and like their game just couldn't handle 100 people in one area.
Yeah,
Like
I remember
no
being really
game
bad.
can, but it was really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Rift Multidayz?
No, I didn't. I'm not sure why, because I know it was supposed to be a WoW killer. I mean, like there's been so many, right? That have been WoW killers. But I think I was a little turned off because it said it required like a really high PC specs at the time. Like you needed a top end machine to run it. But I'm not sure why I didn't play it though. Oh, if I recall correctly. I mean, I might have been taking a break or something during that time frame, or probably also had a kid. Something like that happened.
Kids kind of get in the way of MMOs.
I know, they're terrible. They're good, but they're they have side
They have their
effects.
ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
So like I guess I should talk about my multiboxing, right? I didn't start that until I think shortly after the Burning Crusade came out. I mean, I remember dual boxing some Blood Elf Hunters for a long time, which was a lot of fun. That's when I really like first started, and I was on like a Mac Pro laptop back then, and I can't remember the program I was using. Is like Keyclone maybe. I don't know. There's
Keyclone.
some. Yeah, this is free, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot of macros.
I think it was like
and
$20. It was
Really?
pretty nominal.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like
maybe
a
I bought it.
one-time thing though. I think we still have
Yeah.
like I probably still have 11 or whatever that subscription is. I probably still have one.
Yeah, I mean, I could look it up, but it's not really important. And I did that for a while, and I think I got to the point where I was about to start going with 3, and then something pulled me away from WoW for a while, and I didn't like I don't think I didn't play Burning Crusade all the way through, and I came back for Wrath of the Lich King, and I just sort of like soloed for a bit, and then I dual box for a bit, and then something pulled me away. And it's probably some of these other MMOs I keep leaving
Yeah.
for, or another
Yeah.
like RPG or something like that. But I really haven't played WoW between Wrath of the Lich King and BFA, and like I got to
Wow.
a point. Yeah, I mean I've played tons of games since then, but
Right.
just
You
and-
never
and-
like
and-
came back just to play the first few weeks of an expansion?
Well, I think I may have. Well, to be honest, actually, I did play on private servers, like
Gotcha. Yeah,
classic on and off over the years.
Yeah, there's
I don't
nothing
know.
wrong with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that naughty? I don't know.
I mean, it's
Anyway.
technically against the rules, but like
Right.
plenty of people have done it. Like
Yeah.
enjoy what you enjoy. It's free.
Yeah.
It makes sense. There's no investment.
And for a while, I even ran one in my house for myself, which is really dumb. You shouldn't do
Oh,
it. Like it was so boring. It's just like by myself.
yeah.
I
By the
don't-
way,
I
I've
don't
always
even-
I've always wondered, right? Like, does it
I should
take
say
much
that. That's,
to
like,
does it
trouble.
take much to run a server though? Like, was it pretty intensive, or is it just like?
For yourself?
I mean, like
No.
not for yourself, but like if you had like other people joining it too and everything like that, is that like a? I've never.
I mean,
even,
it
like,
would depend
explored
on your
that,
network, right?
Yeah.
Because I look
I don't
at the blade. I look at the blades, right? You can buy like the official like Blizzard World of Warcraft like servers that have been decommissioned, and it's just like it's like a single piece of hardware. And I'm like I've always expected it to be like multiple blades together, not just like one single blade like house thousands of people on it, on there.
I'm sure they have some sort of like elastic hardware setup at this point. Like I'm sure
yeah.
like it's not relegated in the same way. I'm sure like
Yeah.
like people always think of things like in like this like legacy like server setup, but like there's no way that's how it's architected these days.
It's all microservices now. I bet.
Yeah,
Everything's
absolutely.
chopped up into little tiny pieces running.
It's
in
little,
the
it's little
cloud.
pods. Is that what the phrase is these days?
Yeah, totally pods.
Yeah.
It's like the things you put in your laundry, except electronic.
Just can't get them
So with BFA, I
Yeah.
played that all the way through as a warlock. Did some hunters, and then I just kept playing. And it was just solo stuff because I don't really have time. I did some dungeons, and that just reminded me. Oh yeah, there are 3 little humans running around here being insane. So I can't really play a game where I can't like walk away from it
yeah.
and not have other people in the real world get mad at me. And so a lot of questing. I was playing Horde on an RP server, like, and so this is all like, I forgot to mention, like I came back to BFA because I was like gonna play Classic,
Yeah.
and then Classic came out, and I played that for a while, and I actually got like, everything we remember about like everybody getting along and helping each other. Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
true to a point. But like it got to the like I rolled a warlock again. I'm a warlock, I guess. I don't know. And I played that, and then I got pulled into a guild, and they were all fun guys. It was great. Playing till like 2 a.m, which I really shouldn't do. And then
I'm sure your wife loved that.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try to continue to do my role here as best I can, but yeah, some days were rough. But it got to the point where like we wanted to start running dead mines and all the dungeons. And they're like, well, we don't have a healer. And I'm like, oh, I know how to do that. So I re-rolled a priest and leveled all through that. And then all of a sudden, I'm like the pocket healer for some random group of dudes all throughout the country till late in the night. I'm like,
Why are you
why
doing
am
this?
I doing this?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and I'm like, man, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna dual box. So I started doing that. Got back and basically the thing I did in the Burning Crusade, and it really pulled me in. And that was when I first used Iceboxer. I remember
So
trying
you're kind of
Iceboxer.
fresh then overall.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I tried Iceboxer like back in like 2000. No, when did Burning Crusade come out? 2008.
That
That sounds
somewhere there.
right.
Yeah, it's somewhere on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I installed it around then. I'm like, holy cow, this is way more complicated than what I was doing. I went back to what I was doing. But this time around,
Yeah.
thankfully, we have a lot of amazing people helping us out on YouTube. You guys, Mirai. I mean, there's just tons of stuff, and I picked it up much more quickly.
Big database, of it all.
Yeah.
I feel like what's changed since then is like there's actually like a community. Like Discord is a thing, whereas like in 2007, 2008, it wasn't. Like it's like there's like a whole community of people just like ready to answer questions.
Yeah.
Like anything you have right away. It's actually amazing.
I feel like a giant boomer about that too. Like I haven't joined Discord until like 8 months ago. Like I just didn't use it. I have no idea why. Like I was always into like IRC and things like that, and then I was like, nah, Discord.
Go multiboxing IRC.
Yeah,
probably was.
Oh no, the biggest issue was I tried out Discord several times because my friends were using it, but if I had it running while multiboxing, it would be super laggy because Discord likes to pull in your information, like what game are you playing and things like that, and it was just it would basically bog down my machine, so I just left it off until finally I was like, oh wow, there's actually like multiboxing communities. Why am I not in these communities? So yeah, that's my my segue into Discord happiness, and now I'm using it like every day. I'm like checking it like multiple times a day on my phone, and
yeah, for sure.
It's nice.
Community's
stuff.
Great. It's one of the best things
agreed.
about this. I mean, we can all learn off each other and chat, and you have other people that are just kind of like very interested in the thing that you're interested in, and that's always great.
No, exactly, and now we're basically at the Wild West again, right? with learning learning all the information we need to learn to get us back up and going.
All right, I'll wrap this up about me and multiboxing. So
no, you're fine, man. Keep going.
I mean, I don't want to get us pressed for time here.
We got all the time.
I got all night.
Speak for yourself. I don't want to get that aggro. I'm telling you, it's a thing. From upstairs, I mean. So, I went up to 3 in classic, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I miss auto loot. I miss just like a million things from retail. When I was playing by myself, I'm like, all of that would be amazing. So I should just go multi-box and retail. And once I got my 3 accounts up in there, I'm like, yeah, still on classic. And then I got 2 more and just sort of gradually started building my way up. So multiboxing 5 is very new for me. I've only been doing it about a year. Starting out with like a very manual method with a lot of macros and just key cloning way back in the day. I think it sort of helped me just sort of get into it and get up to speed faster, along with all of the resources available to us.
It helps to understand how it works too. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't really like understand what they're trying to accomplish. They're like, oh, I press this button and all my characters assist, and they don't have any idea like how it actually does that under the hood.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget what would happen if like you sort of tweak your Iceboxer config just a little and you didn't really know what you were doing, and then you have hours just like trying to either unravel it all or starting over from scratch, right? You remember those days?
It's almost like it's one of those things where it's always like save your config before you make any changes, or always have a backup.
I learned that lesson the hard way way too late.
Well, it's interesting for me because like when I first used Iceboxer, like probably Wrath of the Lich King days, I had like the most like standard config ever. I didn't understand anything. I was pretty young at the time. Like I want to say like late high school, like early college maybe. And just like didn't have like the systems knowledge that I have now. And now that I feel like I'm kind of educated on how like systems work, like once you understand that Iceboxer is just a system, it's like really easy to understand. But man, back in the day, like when I like just didn't understand that was like the hardest part for me, was just like not being able to like comprehend how everything works together.
It's a ton of moving parts, right?
Right, exactly.
Key maps, macro sets, character sets,
and we have to learn it all over again. It's gone,
right?
Partially gone, right? Partially.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that's which is interesting with like the whole Joe Multiboxer stuff. So I know that I didn't put this in the agenda, but I did want to talk about it, and we can. I don't want to completely go down the hardware rabbit hole, but it was interesting to see what Lax had to say today, and he kind of mirroring my concerns around like hardware boxing kind of going kaput.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that. So
We'll see.
just to paraphrase, his comments kind of led towards the same thoughts that if a lot of people start doing it, it'll go the same way. And I guess my counter thought at the moment is that the biggest point that I think I've mentioned this so many times now, but it's literally just the barrier to entry, right? I mean, that's like the biggest thing, and I think Blizzard as a whole accomplished what they were looking for the time being, at least in terms of like there is definitely not as many multi-boxers at the moment. At all. Like even for a perfect example, we made a guild, right? And guilds fluctuate and everything, but literally like the guild is just me at the moment because like so many multi-boxers, we just aren't playing as much on that front. But yeah, that's true. But
testing macros, that's all I'm doing.
But then you look at like actually, I guess I haven't looked at them. I'm just assuming they're like this though. But the different farm spots where you'd have tons of, you could easily find multi-boxers. I think a lot of those places are a lot more empty now than they were. So I guess they could very well ramp up, but the ability to ramp up at the same kind of level is just not there. It's going to be pretty unrealistic for anybody to get 50 machines, all linked together and going if they're truly hardware boxing, as opposed to different angles.
Lax also said that like bots are going to start hardware, or like people who run the bots are going to hardware multi-box, and
yeah,
I mean, anything's possible, but like I said to you privately, I think the return on investment for a hardware like synced bot is probably not great. Like one PC per bot.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It's hard to make money
because they're gonna factor in how much power they're using and things like that at that point too, with that kind of scale. And if they're botting anyways, I mean, I'm not sure why they just wouldn't go the software route in the first place. Like, not to kind of delve into like what the most optimized thing is for them, but I mean, their intentions are they know at some point the character's going to get banned anyways. Let's just run into the ground regardless. But
I think the only thing Lax had in there that I thought was like kind of legitimate. Not to say that the rest of it was illegitimate, but I thought his best point in there was that like at some level like Blizzard, like this was an easy solution for them because they can just like ban ISBoxer and like whatever. But at some level, like they're going to continue to have this problem, and they're not going to know how to solve it. And the next logical step is just to ban people who are multi-boxing because it's really easy to identify, right?
True, but that's more of a manual.
So I think that's the biggest risk.
And I think most of these types of bans are basically not automated, but close to it. Like they're scanning things in the background as opposed.
Well,
like
that's their goal, right?
Yeah.
They want to be able to just ban people using some sort of generated algorithm. It's much cheaper for them to do that than it is to have 10 people go around and review accounts.
Yep. No, I agree.
I mean, this is what the ban waves are about, right? Like that's when they're like, detecting something new, and they run their thing and they go through the data and they probably, they find all the accounts that sort of trip that flag. I mean, I assume, I don't know for sure, but
yeah. So I've taken this kind of like thought process on everything that even when I've been playing quite a bit, even like the PvP aspect, is that I'm just enjoying it while I can. I mean, nothing is forever, right? So, I mean, hardware boxing, so far I haven't had any issues completely, like no warnings or whatnot. I've been playing quite a bit, and I feel like it's still within the spirit of the game, within the terms of service that they have outlaid. I'm just going to enjoy it while I can, and adapt if there's any further changes on there. But I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, I guess we can't worry about it, it's still a very real thing. I'm just going to enjoy it, enjoy multi-boxing while it's still here. And also while it's still fun too. At a certain point, if they chop off too many arms, right? Like it's not as fun as it once was. But it's still fun, which is important. And again, if this is not the route, then I mean, there's a lot of other games that are catering that that allow this type of gameplay that are not as good. Like you said before, they have a little a little smidgen of issues on the sides where the quality of life just isn't there, but still doable for our options. So we'll go on.
With that in mind,
yeah.
I guess we'll go into the next question.
Yeah.
So did you guys take any time off for Shadowlands? I actually don't know the status. I'm curious.
Did you take some time off?
First time?
No, for specifically Shadowlands. Oh, I guess either or.
I did the first time.
Not the second time?
I mean, it's right by Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
No.
Too risky. Too risky. So
No, he's not going to
not
work
too
at all.
risky.
He's not going to have to work anyways.
I mean, my company does generally give us the day before Thanksgiving.
okay, I gotcha.
I mean, for the place I work, we're an e-commerce retailer kind of.
Yeah.
And so our customers are sort of checking out before holidays. And so that's generally going to make things slow for me. So,
Okay.
it's one
That
of those
makes it
things
easy.
where, like, yeah, I might just, check
You're
in
not
on
saying
the
it,
game.
but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So
Hey, look what's over there.
Yeah. So for me, this is actually going to be the very first time of any World of Warcraft expansion that I've taken time off, like directly related to an expansion. So I'm pretty excited on that. I'm sure I'm still going to get some work calls, which is totally fine. I get it. But yeah, my goal is I never get to stream during the day, so I'm going to be streaming the 2 days that I take off, it'll be the Tuesday, Wednesday, I guess. Yeah, because then Thursday is obviously too risky. Can't play video games on Thursday. Thanksgiving is that's too much wife aggro.
If there was a year you could get away with it might be this year.
You think so?
Right? I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna have people over unless they have like. I don't want to get into COVID and all that stuff, but like,
yeah. It is a crazy year.
You have to start quarantining now if you want people to come to your house for Thanksgiving. Like, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of it's a little bit of a bummer. We do do quite a bit. I'm not sure if we're doing it with our neighbors this year, but we always do the holidays with our neighbors too, because they have kids the same age and everything. But yeah, that does complicate it a little bit, I guess. I didn't think about that aspect. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I interrupted you. We were planning on having my folks over for Thanksgiving, and I just got a text from my mom this afternoon. She's like, "Yeah, your stepdad's been exposed, so like we're not sure if we're gonna make it or not." And I was like, "Okay." So he doesn't have it, but he like worked with somebody who did test positive. So.
They know a guy.
Yeah, they know a guy. So I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I did take the 2 days off. I took Monday and Tuesday off. So we have Friday as like a company holiday, and then Wednesday is also a company holiday. I work for a company that I always joke gives like every public school holiday off for whatever reason, which is great. I love it.
It's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so I really only had to burn 2 days of PTO, but not only that, I have a ton of vacation time to burn. Like, I had a 2-week vacation plan this summer and like didn't take it. So I have nothing better to do.
We had the same thing. We had a week chopped off for the fall break and all that with the kids, and we didn't do anything. Just stayed home.
Yeah, I just canceled my vacation time. I just got it back. So
okay,
because we had a whole trip planned. But so yeah, I took those 2 days off, and so I've got the whole week, and I made that choice kind of outside of the realm of the Shadowlands release kind of lined up with it, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But I definitely didn't take it off for Shadowlands. So I don't even think I'm gonna play release now. So
no, we can't say that. Maybe even solo. I've
really been waffling on it.
I'm pretty hyped about it still. I feel like that's my positive vibes or whatever. But I think because I have my multiboxing working and I'm functioning and I can do everything I did before, just maybe not to the same extreme level yet. But I'm excited to jump in there. So I guess do you want to segue into the Shadowlands coming up?
Yeah. So I guess the first question is, what are you guys looking forward to most in Shadowlands?
I mean, are you playing it, Woots? You're playing it, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, because it just sounds like a lot of fun, especially if I can multi-box it, would be the Torghast. That looks pretty cool.
Yes.
I'm a little, all of the Covenant abilities and Anima and all that stuff, that looks very interesting, but let's be honest, it's borrow power. How many times do you hear that's going to be, a whole thing? So it's like, I'm going to 2 or 3 different kinds of Azerite. I mean, whatever. It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fun. And
the biggest thing though is there's not any kind of artifact power. I was listening to a different podcast on the way home tonight that kind of talks at like a very high level, and they were interviewing one of the people that is in a guild Echo, which is like the previously
Isn't that Method's new
yeah,
build?
Method. Yeah, it's Method's new build. There you go, exactly. And I guess he's one of the tanks, but he's leveling up like 6 tanks in the first week and doing all the mythics on every single tank in the first week, and basically doing everything you need to do, but knocking it all out on 6 characters at the same time. And he actually even referenced that he's multiboxing too to do it, which was actually kind of like which was kind of cool.
Yeah, for leveling they have to.
Yeah,
that's
they
pretty
level them together.
typical in those world
And
skills.
he was saying that it's a lot harder, obviously, because they can't use IS Boxer now, but they still do that route to get him up there. And they were saying how much nicer it is this time around versus like Legion or BFA because there's no artifact power. Like before, they needed to have every single character leveled up. Like he needed to have all 6 tanks leveled, right? But on top of that, they needed to do an entire world quest sweep every single day of all of them, anything that had AP on it. You know, so he's really like, so a lot of the grind at least is gone. For people
to job.
Yeah, no, literally it did. Like that exactly.
It is though. I mean, those guys, that actually is their job. Which I mean, I don't know. It's high school me probably would have thought that would have been awesome.
Exactly.
Sounds like it would have been fun, but like I think adult me is like, well, when your hobbies become your jobs, they stop becoming your hobbies.
Kills the passion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
It sure does.
You want to come on and be like, oh, I can't wait to play. So with that,
I can't wait till it's 5.
I have to agree with the Torghast comment though. I was like most excited to see that. I think it would have been, being optimistic. I think they're going to have learned everything that they did wrong in Visions, and bring over everything that was fun about Visions.
I hope that's the case because I hated multi-boxing Visions.
I will mirror that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, be honest. Like I've done plenty of dungeons. I've never reached the level of success that probably either of you have. And I only got an IS Boxer Pro at the I don't know, last 5 months, 3 months. I don't even know. It hasn't been that long. And I just sort of felt like when I got in there, like that, it was just brutal with the movement mechanics. They were everywhere.
Yes.
And it's just like, I just wasn't ready for that. Like, cause that takes practice, right? You gotta even with, bigwigs or deadly bossmen, it's like blaring in your ear about get out of the junk. Like you still got to know, like, okay, which direction am I going to go? And I wasn't having fun with that part of it. I'm just like, nah, I'm just going to go level something else.
No.
Like just get another team going. Right.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, kind of to top onto that, like, I think what made it not fun is not only the fact that it was very difficult, right? Because being difficult doesn't mean it's not fun, but it was like mistakes were very consequential. You had you had to go farm world quests in order to even enter the vision. And then if you died within the first 30 seconds, that felt like shit. Like, it felt so bad.
Basically explain my experience, because that leveling before, or the world quest thing before, I didn't do that.
Yeah, you do the whole quest chain for like 3 hours, getting your cloak, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna do a vision, and then you just immediately get destroyed. Like,
so hey, maybe you want your eye level to be such and such before you step in there. That'd have been good to know.
There was that risk versus reward. I agree, and the mechanics do get kind of crazy, which is that's the thing I think that I need to work on the most, is figuring that out with the setups we have now, is that moving my other characters throughout different bad things on the ground or whatnot is gonna be definitely the hardest part of the whole shebang. And Horrific Visions definitely took it to the extreme. And things that are complicated for us, typically for a solo player, you don't even notice.
Super easy.
Yeah, it's basically like you just almost ignore the mechanic. And like the most popular one out there that's the easiest to reference is Quaking Affix, which is actually an affix that is live right now this week, where every single character gets that big old circle around them. It happens every 20 seconds pretty much. And then if you're touching anybody else, then boom, you both get hit with damage.
And interrupts you.
Yeah, it interrupts you and everything. And like, so like for us, like our guys are always together. And so, but for solo players, they consider it like a free affix. Like it doesn't even exist to them, is how easy it is. But yeah, exactly. But for us though, it's almost like it's a dead key. It's almost a Siege Borealis basically of a key.
Yeah, but then we benefit from skittish, so it's...
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's some give and take.
So there is the skittish. The skittish is a free affix for us too, which is nice. What the only bummer though is they took skittish away though in Shadowlands.
I feel like some of those mechanics, it just feel like I'm paying someone to torture me. Like,
Yeah.
and of course, we have like the multi-boxing perspective, which moving around, is something that's challenging to do. Whatever. I mean, it's even harder now. But it's like one of those things where, like, if I sort of miss it, and I've been having fun in something up until that point, and I
Yeah.
miss this thing, and then now, like, my fun is instantly ended because I didn't see this thing on the ground. And I mean, whatever, it's fine. It's part of the game, and yeah, it's challenging. You just gotta learn from it. But sometimes it's like, man, what are you doing, Blizzard? Like, can I play this game? Can I enjoy myself, please?
So that's the benefit about Torghast, I think, is you can go at your own pace though too, because because Horrific Visions as well as Mythic Plus though, it's forcing you to make bad moves because you're against a clock, where I think Torghast there's no timer. You can actually
Isn't there that like really big thing that comes and kills you if you take too long?
No, I think
It's slow,
as far as my knowledge though, it comes after you if you've died too many times.
Okay.
Otherwise, so hypothetically, if you have a bunch of kids and everything, you can just AFK for a little bit, attend to the kids.
You can, yeah, you can AFK for a long time, which is nice. Like I mean, because Horrific Visions took like half an hour, like to do a full clear. Like it felt like so long, and then
with
to like
no AFK,
make one small mistake and then like die.
Yeah.
I have a different idea, Days. With my kids,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait until that thing comes out, and then I'm gonna sit them down and force them to play. So they get this giant, dangerous, lumbering thing coming after them. That's just gonna kill them. I'm just gonna make them keep doing that.
I'm impressed. You get to have your kids playing though. That's awesome. There's a benefit here.
What's the first team you guys are planning on leveling?
I really wanted mine to be shamans, but after parsing them and everything, it's going to be druids for sure. Which is terrible because it's the quintessential boxing
farmer
class. Yeah, but it's so good. It's so good.
Like, talk about painting a target on your back, right?
I know, but oh my god, they are so good. But yeah, no, the tuning right now, I even looked at WoW raid logs and whatnot. I took like the person that did the 99 percentile, or the 99, but the 100 percentile, right? Like the person that had the best elemental shaman log and the best enhancement shaman log. And I ran them up against a raid boss to see what they sim at. And it was like 3,700 DPS or something like that, right? So I did a balanced druid and a hunter, and they're simming at like 5,700 DPS. Like
I was gonna say 3,700 is really low.
Yeah, and that's what the best gear you can possibly have. And obviously things are gonna change once Shadowland hits, but and I think the tuning is gonna be there better. But like, why not just open the gates with a class that already has everything, has all the bells and whistles, and does it all from the get-go.
Plus druid is kind of like your class, right? Like you play it so well.
Yeah.
Or shaman, it's like you played it historically, but
yes, yeah, it's a little clunkier. Yeah. But yeah, and I think my second one might end up being like these paladins that I've just leveled up. Just in terms of having a melee comp in there, paladins really excel. Especially if you want like a forgiving class, you just have so many outs, right? Like if you're talking about like not having a good grasp on mechanics or things like that, or messing up and not getting out of something. Well, hypothetically, you can already play tanks, so that's forgiving too. But then you have bubble, so you have all your entire team bubble, so that you have 10 seconds of immunity to get out of whatever the bad thing that just happened was. And then if something else happens within the next 30 seconds, you can have a lay on hands, and then in 30 seconds more, you can do a blessing of protection. So basically, you have every single boss fight, you have 3 almost get out of jail free cards. Plus you're a tank on top of that. You kill a little slower, but if your goal is just to basically get through the content, I think that's a viable option on there. So those are
his plans.
Yeah,
way more fleshed out than mine. So, like, pretty much since I started doing this hardware boxing thing, I've basically just been trying to refine what I have and try to make it work. Not only for me, but as I've had discussions in Discord with Mr. Multidayz here, he keeps making suggestions, but like, well, what about this thing? Like, how are you going to do this? And
gotcha.
I'm just like, well, hey, look, it's working a little better. He's thinking way out, like in the future. I'm like, man, I'm not even ready to get in a dungeon yet. And so I'm just sort of like thinking about what I did with Iceboxer.
Yeah.
And trying to get myself to a setup where I know when I'm, totally soiling myself because everything's going wrong, I can hit all the right keys and maybe make it out alive. and part of that is like interrupts and slot healing, and that's what I've been trying to figure out.
Which is really good too, because I don't have an interrupt combo going at all at the moment, which is
I mean,
a big
depends
issue.
on your classes, but GC casts like sequential casts.
Yeah.
I think that's going to work. A lot of other people have talked about that. Is not my idea. I know we talk about cast sequences with like arbitrary or instant casts in there. I'm sort of leaning on GSE with a macro that doesn't reset out of combat, where like right now I'm playing a Blood Death Knight, 3 rogues, and a
Mistweaver Monk.
I have no idea.
I saw that. I was like,
You
wow,
hate yourself?
Yeah, I know exactly.
No,
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how bad it is. Now, like I don't know. Mistweaver heals pretty good. I have not put it through its paces.
The Mistweaver's not the issue with that group.
Fine.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of fun with rogues early on, and then they hit a wall.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh god. And then, well, I just re-roll and just pick something new.
Well, yeah, you've got like, if you like to play a rogue, you have 2 different finishers that you have to like time. Like, unless you're, I think the only way you could really do it is if you were like hyper focused on the rogue rotation while managing everything else.
Wait, is there out of the 3?
see.
Is there one that you can just like spam keys on? Is that like outlaw maybe, or are they comp? I've never played a rogue in a long time, so I'm not sure.
I think all of them have slice and dice, right?
Yeah, but also with the Unproving, they all have Shiv, and you can also like with sub. I'm mixing in Shiv and Shuriken Storm, or no, Shuriken Throw, and so who's ever not kicking, they basically all will open with Shiv, because the tank is the first slot, and that that'll if I keep the Blood Death Knight, that'll be like asphyxiate or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they just basically rotate out the other combo point generators. We'll see. Like I said, I haven't put it through its paces. It could very well be like this is just what I'm playing with now, because I'm doing hardware and macros on the keyboard and macros in GSE, and I'm going with all these melee characters because I want to make sure I get interact with target down without Iceboxer.
So you're getting it all set, yeah.
That's the idea. I mean, now in the wings, I've got a paladin with 3 hunters. And I have, I don't know, a priest, either Dis or Holy. And, obviously I have the Mistweaver. I've got a Resto Shaman. Like, I'll just swap any one of those in and out depending on which one feels like it's going to be better. So, like, I have those 3 hunters and the paladin, many paladins. But, that's sort of like my backup. Probably when I'm, like, going to get real serious about it. Like if I actually like, okay, now I really got to get to the end of the game and go do all the stuff that
there's no rush though. That's the good thing about boxing though. Like you're not dependent on somebody else. Like you're not letting anybody down if you're in a guild and they want to raid. You're like, I don't care.
Or if you want to play on Thursday instead of Wednesday.
Exactly.
I mean, the other nice thing is that I'm sort of okay with not getting to the end of the game. Like I have plenty of 120s, but like I never really like you heard me. I didn't really like doing horrific visions for how frustrating they were.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of other classes and comps I want to put together, mostly just so I could see how well they fit together with Iceboxer. And I'll probably be doing all that same stuff just with GSE and keyboard stuff now, or mouse macros.
That's important though. That's the entire discovery phase. I mean, it takes a while for the multiboxing community as a whole to find out or figure out like what's the comp. I mean, BFA was out for over a year before we finally decided that like what the kind of solidifying of what the decent comps were, or even more than that. I mean, maybe even a year and a half like into it before you finally get like, all right, this is the comp. If you guys are looking to do like PvE dungeons, this is what you want to do. So yeah.
And then there's always that Beastmaster like road bump that sometimes I never get over. Like just at a certain point, with Beastmasters, like I'm bored.
It's not an exhilarating comp.
I don't know what it is. It doesn't make any sense. It's literally
it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's good, but it's so boring.
It's 3 different classes too. Like you have like instead of like it's weird because like 5 paladins, 5 tanks, right? It's still fun, but it's like it's really generic too. But it has like a different feel to it. I don't know what it is. Yeah, the hunter.
5 paladins kind of bores me too. Like not a lot. I really enjoy paladin, but I don't know. Like playing 4 ret was very exhilarating for me. Playing 5 prot. Not so much. I think ret though, because you're just like trying not to die. It's like there's like so much going on.
Right, and they've changed it a lot though. I don't know if ret is going to be viable as much because before the expansion came out, they had the ability where they could use that heal that was a really really big heal for up to 3 members in your party, and now that same heal got replaced
Yeah.
with a single target heal.
Yeah, it's basically they just made Word of Glory only heal one target.
Yeah, before actually that was the same ability. Yeah, Word of Glory was
It
3
used to have a
targets.
cooldown though. I think they removed the cooldown.
Yeah, correct. The cooldown is gone as well.
So when I was
there.
playing the 4 ret comp, it was like I think I struggled the most with the lack of AoE healing compared to the shamans. Like the shamans felt better because you had chain heal. But
Yes.
the rets had really good healing, but it just felt awkward and clunky for like keeping a whole group up.
Oh, for
But
sure.
it was very strong. It was viable for sure.
And melee as a whole, though, are difficult, much more difficult than ranged, keeping alive. And that's what the tough part is about that I really wanted the shamans to work, because playing both elemental shaman and even enhancement shaman, the chain heal is amazing. Like literally, it feels so good. You hit the key one time, and your whole group is basically topped off. Like and you didn't even have to like worry too much about even the focus target, because the heals are just bouncing intelligently on who needs it after the first initial heal. So you could just set it to heal yourself.
Never knew that you like chain heal.
It burns mana though. There were a few times I ran out of mana.
No,
using
I agreed. It will burn your mana. But it's highly effective at its end goal though, or whatnot, of keeping your team alive. But if the rotations aren't there, if they're too complicated, or like you can't get DPS up to like 75% or higher, then it's kind of a not so great comp for us. You know, you need something it's still somewhat efficient.
It might be like a first content patch kind of team.
Yeah, I think so. So the goal, for me on my side, I'm gonna get the druids topped off. If this character transfer ever goes through for my Trinity comp, I'll probably have to level that too. Just if I want to probably stay competitive or do something Mythic Plus style, if the druids aren't hacking it on a certain aspect. But I put my character transfer in on a Friday, and it's we're on Monday now, and it's still processing. I think it was self-inflicted though. I don't want to blame Blizzard entirely, but you're supposed to clear your mailbox before you do the transfer. So I did that, and then I went on my other shamans on the same comp, and I opened up a mailbox, and I have the EMA add-on that automatically shuffles the gold and tradable items to your main character. So it sent all the stuff to my paladin that's in transit.
Rough.
So I think
use case.
I know. I think that's what's causing it. So the character currently has like probably 100 items that need to be like returned or something. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it gets sorted again by next Monday before the expansion comes out. But I'll level them up. I'll level the druids anyways.
If Blizzard didn't hate you before, they'd certainly hate you now.
And the reason I was swapping them is because we're hardware boxing now. Before I used to use my fifth account as sometimes my tank, and then my main account as my tank. But now with these changes with hardware boxing, it's not as feasible, because we're more so dependent on the end game macros, the key bindings that we're assigning to all the different characters. So I'm trying to shuffle all of my tanks now to my main account, and then whatever was on the main account back over to a DPS account. On that aspect, just to make it a lot cleaner. Yeah, because what happened was I had everything set right on my druids or whatever, and then I swapped over my shamans, and I was hitting buttons and things were doing weird things. I was like, wait, and I was like, oh, the key bindings, they stay with that account. Like, but when we had IS Boxer, we were kind of spoiled, honestly. Like, everything was like within that own little perfect little bubble, and it didn't have these kind of side effects. So that's so that was a side effect there. But so Zoc, if you were playing, what would you be playing for Shadowlands?
Yeah, I was really struggling with that. So I really wanted to do a ranged comp and a melee comp. So I was probably going to do the Hunter Trinity and probably 4 DK and a Paladin.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The 4 DK Paladin was your.
I really wanted to make a melee comp good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I was going to do it with. It was either that or 5 Paladins, but I didn't really like the 4 ret setup. I also really liked the Shamans, so Shamans would have been on the table as well. But I probably wouldn't have played with melee.
Yeah. Melee...
I'll let you know my rogues work.
I feel like
I actually was going to level up rogues. I did want to see it, but I think without IS Boxer, like managing macros, I think rogues are going to be very difficult to play hardware boxing. Just being honest. No, I mean, I hope you pull it off.
Yeah. It would be super cool though. It would be super cool. Yeah, the I feel like the World of Warcraft is almost it's designed to play a melee character almost. It's much more enjoyable playing a melee character. So when you get a comp that's a melee comp, it's also a lot less. If you get interact with target working, I noticed if I'm just doing random stuff, like if I'm world questing and things like that, doing a melee comp is way more just fluid, if you will.
Blizzard doesn't know how to balance casters. They haven't since like Wrath or Kata or Mop, somewhere in there. Mop was like the pinnacle. They don't know how to balance casters. They have no idea what they're doing.
That might be the issue, yeah, to make him as
so it feels
interactive.
Awkward or it feels really good, and there's no in between. And the classes that feel really good to play, like Warlock feels really good to play, Frost Mage feels really good to play.
Yeah,
like they're hard to box. Warlock's almost impossible.
What? Oh man, I love Affliction Warlock.
Yeah, I think
comfortable with.
Yeah, but I think to box it correctly, I think I just don't see it being like that good.
You're probably right, but to that I say, who just cares about correct? I just have fun. Sorry.
So moving forward on still on the Shadowlands thing, thinking about the best systems in there, because we were talking about what we're looking forward to. I'm most looking forward to unlocking the entire like scenario or whatnot, and then having it completely doable for our alt characters. So like we don't have to do that. We don't have to go through the entire storyline again and just jump right into world quests to kind of like, so you can kind of gear up at the same time. But I don't know. Was there any clarification or whatnot, like on what covenant you picked would define what kind of world quest you saw? I don't know if I saw anything on that.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, I have very mixed feelings on how that feature actually will play itself out. So I'm curious to see how you play with it moving forward, because I feel like what you're essentially going to do is you're just going to burn yourself out quicker doing those world quests. Like you have to do them at max level. I see what you're saying. You're not going to get the rewards that you need for them.
True.
So all you're doing is just like replacing questing, which like generally doesn't feel bad. Like I actually enjoy questing.
Yeah.
You're replacing that with like doing daily quests, which never feels good.
True. I can see the point on there as well. I mean, I guess you technically still have the option though, right? You don't have to go that route if you don't want to.
Yeah, different strokes.
Yeah. I guess at least it's just there. I'm gonna keep it simple on mine though. I'm gonna have them all in the same covenant, even if there's something that's best in slot for one of them. I feel like keeping it simple is gonna be the easiest route on there, because then they all have the same ability, just in case like what the ability causes you to move faster or something. You do the same one on all of them instead of one of them running faster and the other one teleporting. I mean, it doesn't work when you try to mesh those together. So we'll see.
I mean, I think whatever's like the most passive ability is going to be the best ability. Like anything that like greatly modifies the playstyle is going to feel awkward.
I've noticed that too, by the way, with going back from IS Boxer to GSE, which is the in-game add-on that we're using. It seems like the more simplistic you can make the macro, the better, in terms of the fewer amount of steps in it. Because before I could load up something and have like 15 different steps, like all kinds, like 15 different abilities trying to fire off, and it worked perfect. But now with GSE, like you can't spam the button fast enough to kind of squeeze through all of them at once. I don't know. Have you had similar routes on that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like with IS Boxer, like it was literally like if you had one step with a whole bunch of actions in it, it's just pressing all those buttons, which is why we used to joke about, face roll rotation.
Yes. It felt really wrong.
I mean, it was a little sketch. But with GSE, they're just, you got that like a sequential macro or priority macro, and it's only going to do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but to your point, the thing that we got pretty easily with the pro setup and those sort of steps is like you could make it so that if you had a proc pretty much of anything, it was very easy to hit that proc quickly without necessarily disrupting your overall rotation. And with GSE, like, I mean, I was on GSE for much longer than I was on IS Boxer Pro, and I remember that being very hard. Like, I remember just like seeing procs sitting on all of like my DPS, and like knowing, okay, I could go hit that key, but it's like you can never, or at least I can never really like get it like timed out perfectly where those would get used up fast enough unless you go with fewer sequential steps, right?
Exactly.
Or putting your proc at the very top of a priority list. But I sort of had mixed luck with those. I mean, and it's probably because I just haven't
No,
dedicated myself to
I'm still juggling
priority.
with the same exact issue. It's been tough trying to get the same kind of DPS I'm used to. I'm like, no, why is my tank doing half of what I was doing? So I know that there's improvements to be made. That's where the community comes in, right? Somebody else can pave the way, and I'll just copy paste. That's the nice thing about the GSE macros, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of people using them, right?
Yeah.
WoW Lazy Macros is a great resource.
Yeah.
When you were using GSE a long time ago,
Yeah.
do you feel like between then and now, there's been a slight change for like how quickly it will swap out the next ability? Because I feel like before I switched to Pro, I would hit it, hit the GSE macro, and like if I feel like maybe the GSC might have been waiting for part of the GCD or something. Or maybe I'm misremembering this, but now when I was just testing some hardware stuff, I feel like I could just like hit my DPS button, like, and it would just switch as fast as I would hit it. And I don't remember it being like that. And I'm just wondering if you feel the same way, or if I'm just misremembering my time with GSE.
I'm not sure. I almost like so the issue that I guess I'm running into on my side, which is maybe related to that, is I guess I really didn't notice it as much because I used GSE plus IS Boxer together, like, so I was only using half of it because I just had like just the DPS in there, or some of the DPS, and then the rest of it was still stuff in IS Boxer calling other things in the process, like hit the 1 key but also hit the 4 key too at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, so and when I noticed something wasn't going off in IS Boxer, like for example, like if I'm a paladin, I'm trying to make sure I always get my judgments off or something, because that seems like that's their biggest DPS right now. I would just throw judgment also on a different key and tell IS Boxer to spam number 1 plus that other key to make sure that. And for hunters, it was barb shot or something like that. Right. So I guess it almost like cushioned a GSE to fix whatever its shortcomings are. And now I'm really seeing what those shortcomings are. And I'm like, come on, how do I squeeze this out properly? Is what I'm
that was gonna be my guess, because I actually know exactly what you're talking about, Woot, from back when I was using GSE. I feel like I remember thinking, okay, every time I push this button, it should try that ability, and if that ability isn't available because of either GCD or cooldown, then it'll go to the next ability. But I remember kind of when I was running it through IS Boxer that it didn't seem that tactile. It seemed like it was almost on a bit of a delay. And I almost have to wonder if like IS Boxer was applying some, because IS Boxer, when you press that, was also having to do assist me and auto interact. Maybe there was like kind of like a split second delay in there that made it less tactile. And then
you're probably right.
That's my guess. That's my diagnosis. Yeah. And then to your comment, Days, I was thinking you could still do that if you moved like you could just press like 1 and 4 at the same time. You could accomplish that same thing, right?
That is true, exactly. Yeah, I could
your whole hand,
smash your hand against the keyboard.
So instead of face rolling, it's just like hand smashing on there.
Just get a hammer and just start mashing the crap out of your keyboard.
Oh man,
sorry, Woots, you were gonna say something.
Not important. Can't remember. I think I was just agreeing with you or something. Just, making noise.
So yeah, with that, I mean, that's just I'm still getting used to GSE. I'm really happy that something like that exists, because obviously if GSE wasn't around, then obviously this would be even more difficult than it needs to be. But I feel like that's already within their own API that WoW created, and GSE I feel like is used by a very large percentage of WoW players and as a whole.
I'm very concerned they're going to get rid of it or limit it.
That would be a big PR hit on their side.
Huge.
Yeah, they would not want the backlash on that, because any person that has any kind of disability or arthritis or something, I mean, those are the people that are going to be hurting the most by doing that.
And for those folks.
Yeah, I didn't consider that.
Yeah, so they're and that's the PR hit they don't want. I think that's why follow has kind of stayed in the game too, because follow is used for a lot outside of multiboxing. It's used for has some important use cases like that.
Be the true killer, right? Just get rid of follow.
Don't say that. We didn't say that.
I didn't say that. What are you talking about? I didn't hear that.
I mean, it's amazing if you think about it. Like, because the follow me is like built into the API, you could potentially like 2 people, like if Woots and I were leveling together, we could have an add-on that essentially allowed me to just make him follow me.
Yes.
So if for some reason movement was difficult for him, I'm sure there's a use case out there that people are using that for.
There was a combo of a guy that's completely blind, like legally blind, like cannot see at all, and through Discord, they've been able to do like all like the rating, like they did. I think they even did like Nyalotha on there,
just using like follow, and then
using
the guy just, like,
follow, and
and
they had like some kind of commands where they're talking to each other. He's like, all right, do this now and do this. Like they have everything sorted out. I've read about it. I actually haven't seen it in action, but yeah, So they've had completely blind people being able to complete raids and things like that, you know, as a team, which is great PR, right? And then like, oh, by the way, we're taking away follow like that. I don't see them doing that. I hope not.
It's a good point. I think they'd probably just ban hardware.
I've definitely seen a less like heartfelt version of that. There was a Twitch plays where one of the Gold Farmer videos that I watched, like solo boxing Gold Farmer, just like let his Twitch users use voice commands or chat commands actually to drive his WoW instance, and they would just basically fight over which direction he would do him. Like it was kind of painful but kind of funny to watch. It was really weird. I didn't even realize what I was watching at first. But yeah. So
that's very interactive, but may fall under the automation category. I don't know.
Totally useless, but yeah.
Yeah. Twitch.
Yeah,
Twitch
I don't think
that.
they're gonna go after banning that.
Twitch had that with like with Pokemon too. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was a big thing.
I do remember that. I was actually gonna talk about or bring that up.
Yeah. Where
they had like a whole stream dedicated to that. Where
and they actually beat the game too, I guess, with Twitch doing all the commands.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched that stream when it was going on. I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, I can only imagine how long it took him to beat the game.
Yeah. No, and especially too because you just get a couple of trollers in there as well that just want to mess it up.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess to make sure we get in the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, we want to kind of shift over to the hardware side, or we want to talk about the pre-launch a little bit.
Let's do a quick thing on hardware.
Okay.
Because I know we're going a little bit over time.
That's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Pre-launch is what it is.
Yeah. Someone in chat just said they changed the spawns to 10 minutes on the rares.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it then. So, I'm curious to hear what you guys' opinions are, because I've got a buddy that I went to college with, I work with, like we're good friends, and it looks like kind of a waste of time. It's like not a bad way to gear your character, and you're definitely going to want those upgrades for the beginning of Shadowlands, but it looks like you're just waiting around for 20 minutes and even 10 minutes. Like that's a long time to just like not be playing the game.
Yeah, it feels weird. It's not as interactive.
Is 10 minutes going to make it better?
I don't know. Did you do any of the rare fighting at all, Woots, at all? Probably not, I'm guessing.
No, I have been working just on the hardware stuff. Like, the reason I'm here, like, I saw you do it, like, the other night.
Yeah.
It's Friday night.
You're like, I had enough, I saw
it. Well, I'm just like, huh. I'm like, it sounds like there's some gear in there I need, but if I get to it, I get to it. If not, I have other fish to fry. So
yeah. Well, even then, I was thinking about it because I was doing it over the weekend. I was setting up my macros, which was beneficial. But then I was like, all this gear is going to be completely useless in a week. Like, but like I don't know what I'm doing this for. Because at the same time, I was contemplating. I was like, should I do like the entire cloak quest on these paladins? And get them neck, level up their neck just so I can start trying to do some dungeons with them. And I was like, no, I'll just wait a week. Like.
There is a pretty big jump, though, once you hit Shadowlands. I guess as a multi-boxer, it probably doesn't matter, but, like, I went in as, like, a 420 Warlock in Shadowlands, and, like, I didn't feel that strong for somebody that's, like, that geared. Yeah. Like, so those upgrades will... Or did I say 420? I think I meant to say 120. Like, I guess it was, like, 460 or 470 before
the change,
level
switch. Yeah.
Yeah, but... Nonetheless, like I feel like I should have been a lot stronger than I was in Shadowlands. But yeah, like my buddy also complained that like he's like, yeah, I thought this would be like this really cool storyline, and it's just kind of lame. He's like, it's not interesting at all.
Disappointing.
I'm gonna go with they saved all of their energy for the actual expansion. So we'll see.
I mean, that's where they probably should have put it. So maybe that's the right move.
I guess we're just gonna get spoiled now, right? Because we always have like a pre-launch event and all the other ones, and We'll see. There was supposed to be something about like ghouls were attacking you in town and whatnot. I really didn't see that too much. Like you can get like
It
infected.
was obnoxious on beta,
Okay.
on PTR. So if you didn't see it in game, then they probably removed it, which
They
is
probably just toned
for
it
the
down
better.
quite a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay.
So we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
do a quick bit on hardware boxing. So Woot, you posted this great long post on dualboxing.com earlier last week that kind of went through like probably everything. If you haven't checked it out, definitely recommend checking it out. I really liked how you had like the remap shortcuts and windows, like everything soup to nuts, everything you'd done. One thing that was interesting though that you talked about was relative versus absolute mouse positioning. And I guess you could probably explain it better than I can.
Yeah. So I have more than one switch, and the one I posted on is like the 8-port one. It's just really at this point the easiest to get in the U.S. And it's very good. The thing is when you plug a whole bunch of computers into a device like this, it tells you right away like you need to have all of your desktops at the same resolution, and it even tells you that you need to like go in and make sure like your mouse speed in Windows is all like they're all in the middle, and your key repeat rate on your keyboard is all the same. I didn't do that stuff, but
hypothetically, it should be at defaults anyways. Like if you've never messed with it in the first
Yeah.
place, you should be okay.
Yeah, I haven't,
Yeah.
and that's just sort of what I went with. I'm like, if I have problems, I'll come back, and I did. But when you are, when you're swapping ports from one computer to the next, you're using the mouse. When you switch away, you have left that mouse cursor somewhere else, right? And so at some point, when you turn sync back on, if you want any of it to make sense, without thinking at all, that's where this absolute mouse positioning comes in, and so that's on this device by default. And all that
So
really
quick
means
question then. Does that update happen when you switch back? Is it like when the switch happens, or is it just like constantly checking to see if it's out of position?
So I don't know about constantly. It's definitely checking periodically. So in practice, if I wasn't in combat, I never noticed it ever. I mean, like maybe once or twice, I would sort of be like, "Oh, mouse cursor jumped over there." But my guess is that it was almost always happening on the PCs I wasn't paying attention to because I'd already left them, right? So absolute positioning is pretty great when you're not in combat, because when you want to go interact with an NPC or check a mailbox or gather, your cursor's always lined up. And if you get your characters to be on top of each other, as anybody who's ever done any gathering knows, like you're sort of not going to have a good time unless the mouse cursor's pretty much in the same spot and your cameras are all pointing to the same spot. And if you've got a slight difference in your camera, a slight difference in your mouse cursor is going to be amplified. And before I even knew about the fact that the relative and absolute positioning was the thing, I just really felt like the first couple days, maybe more, I don't know.
What's this ghost controlling my mouse?
Well, I just didn't have any of the problems I had with Iceboxer, and just like positioning characters for like, I want you to go interact with this chest or this quest item, or like clicking on a menu option when I'm picking up a quest or whatever. Those cases, like usually everything would be fine. You turn your mouse, your broadcast on, and things would generally be okay. But every now and then, like cameras, camera angles, and positioning would get in the way of that, and I just felt like I had a lot less of that going on. But your mouse is occasionally moving, even if you don't notice it with absolute positioning. When the system, I assume, detects that too many clients have deviated too far away from where the mouse cursor is on one screen, I think it either snaps them back up to the top left, or maybe just sort of moves them a little. I haven't really been able to fully see exactly what it's doing. I do know that if you've got sync on when your mouse plugged in and you try to use the camera, and I mentioned this in my post, crazy stuff happens.
Yes.
You're looking up, you're spinning around, like you're looking. It's really weird because it's basically, I think
it's off
moving mouse cursors with 5 different computers at once.
Yes.
And they're all synced, and it's just
Yeah, that's what the benefit I think of having, like, because I just got my second one that I installed today. I got it yesterday, but I put it in today, and I think that's where the benefit of having two different KM synchronizers comes into play. If you get to that kind of level, yeah.
Absolutely. So the great thing about two syncs, and we'll get to relative positioning in a second here, but if you get to two syncs, you can sync your keyboard and your mouse independently. And if you think about how you play, normally when you're in a fight, you want to get that DPS key to every single one of the PCs that you're playing on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're always going to have keyboard sync on for the most part. And you'll have your action bar buttons and all that stuff set up, so things like whatever healing you've got going on, your healers will heal and your DPS characters will DPS, right? So you have your always broadcasting the keyboard. But there are very few instances where when you're in combat, at least as with my experience as multi-boxer, that I need to move the camera on all of the players. In fact, I can't even think of when I would ever do that.
Yeah, not ever. Yeah.
Right. And so in that way, when you have the mouse not synced and the keyboard synced, you have the ability to drive safely with the tune you're on, and then you continue to do all the things you would do with your left hand if that's where your keyboard is. I assume it is, but and so real quick with the relative positioning thing, if you get into a situation where for whatever reason you needed to have the mouse on with sync on, that will let you do that. Cursors do get a sync, but really the reason that I started using relative mouse positioning is because if I did have sync on, even if I just for accidentally for a second started using the left to right mouse buttons to move forward and everybody move forward, if I was in the middle of something, my camera would still be facing the right way. Like it was just less disruptive. And then at times you can have all of the cursors for all of the tunes go click on something, or I don't know. I mean, click to move. Maybe I'd never really do that, but it's really about just making the game freak out on you less is really what that's about. And I just felt it was just a better way to play.
Oh yeah, for
sure. The camera.
I was thinking of it like relative mode, like even if your mice get out of sync, which you're kind of almost expecting it to happen. I was thinking you just approach it like you approach multiboxing Diablo, right? You just like move your mouse to the top left corner, and then that way everything's in sync. Like if you move everything to one absolute position, then it's just
I think that's how the shoe one works. Actually, I think that it treats top left as a special point.
Probably 0-0.
Yeah. Now with the other device I'm using, I tried that a few times and it didn't seem like top left had that sort of like instant sort of result. But what I did find is that if I just move my mouse around the screen, that's what that looks like on my desk, and I hit all four corners, they would sync up. And so I'm streaming, it's a little spastic or whatever, but like they just sync up fine. Like as soon as you hit all four of the corners, it there's really, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And so with that other device, relative mouse positioning is, it's a little easier to work with because with the two devices that Multidayz have, and the one I'm using for my keyboard, when you turn on relative mouse position by default, it locks you to the y-axis, and that's the biggest drawback. And so, again, like I don't really want to turn people away from that one necessarily for that reason. But if you want to go on the x-axis with the mouse with relative positioning on, you have to hold down the tilde key.
Oh wow,
and,
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
that becomes a little.
I guess I haven't.
Yeah, right. So you be talking while you use your mouse.
Yeah,
whether you like it or not.
I guess I haven't used the relative at all though. But the relative, the absolute is essentially the same thing that you're used to by key broadcasting or mouse broadcasting in ISBoxer. It's like it's a perfect 1-to-1 sync.
But the difference would be like with ISBoxer, you could move all of the cameras at once.
True.
And not have weird things happen.
That is true. Yeah.
It does not work like that with the sync.
That's why I've used the which again is a little bit more software side, but of using like Synergy, or you can use a product like that, which is basically a software KM based, and you can turn on relative mouse movement on there, but because you're only using it, you only have one cursor instead of like it multiplying around. And I've gotten to be able to fix the camera going bananas, which is obviously a pretty big issue. Trying to hold it down.
And of course, you always want to have like a set view.
Exactly.
Like the TST macros or whatever. I also keep it to a hotkey. And that that can get you sorted out, like in terms of like what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't like prevent the problem. Like you just can't look around with all characters at the same time like you could with Iceboxes.
It's just a hurdle we're gonna have to.
But you can with relative mode. So
True.
it's like just less jarring.
True. That's what I'm testing out. I'm thinking about then switching my mouse that's on its own KM switch to be in relative potential. I don't know. We'll see how it matches out. But are you down to how many mice and how many keyboards are you using at the moment?
Well, so for when I had 4 computers only, 1 mouse, 1 keyboard, 2 syncs. As you know, last week I finally pieced together a 5th PC by totally gutting a Linux machine I had in my entertainment center. And so that's running Windows now. And so I've got 5. So I was running into a situation where I needed to have a second mouse again to control that 5th PC. But that 5th slot is always going to be my healer. And with some of the other stuff I've been working on the last day and a half or so, making better use of Emma, which that's another add-on that I think a lot of us lean on really hard.
Yeah, even more so
members.
now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but Ebony's doing some really great stuff. Like she did like some really quick iterations on Emma, added some really interesting stuff.
Yes, I agree.
As far as like Focus Master, Assist Master, Target Master. I posted about that today in the DB forums or Dual Boxing forums. But like once I got those set up so that I was making a lot of GSE macros for follow, assist, slot healing, and it was getting to be a little intense. And then, like when things start to feel like if I do this again on another team, I'm gonna like die of boredom writing macros. I'm like, I have to find a better way. And so I remembered, oh yeah, Ebony did this stuff with Emma. I should go look at that. And it ended up being really, really good. And I weave some of that into my hardware macros for switching slots, where basically when I press one of these keyboard macros to switch from one port on the KM sync to another, it also sends the WoW keybind for Emma's set current character to master. And once you do that, you can start to work in the target, focus, and assist into your other macros, which lets you eliminate a ton of additional macros if you weren't using that or some other system like it.
Potentially, yeah, for sure.
So the reason I went through saying all that is that even though I do have a second mouse, I'm barely using it really. It's only when I have to control
that's awesome.
that 5th slot to move around or do something, which, we'll see. Like I haven't put any of these through any serious paces quite yet.
Yeah.
But even just in my testing, it was feeling like I can get by without really using the second mouse. And then, my other 8 ports on a boat from China as we speak, and then it's on. Then I'm like, I'm seriously gonna.
There is also a shortage of these ones that we've been kind of like using at the moment too, because even is it Shoe One? Is that the name of it, or Shoe Own? I don't know, but it's also getting apparently in low stock too. I don't know if we lost stock there. He said
he had to go.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Well,
he's got priorities.
Jeez.
It's okay.
I didn't see that there. Yeah. I guess we can leave it there then. On that one, isn't anything else you want to touch on the hardware that we didn't touch on?
I could probably talk forever, but no. I mean, it's like, oh, here he is back.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep posting.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm gonna keep posting on the Dual Boxing forums. I only just started. I've been reading that forever, but totally in lurker mode. But when I sort of come across something I think other people might find useful for
Oh, I messed everything up.
No, you're good. It's back.
I look so different on Twitch. I'm gonna keep posting. I think it's just really interesting how like one of the things with the Shoe One that I think I finally started to understand is what a lot of us are seeing. So I know you talked about it in the video that you posted on YouTube today, where when you plug your keyboard in, you can't use the software with it.
Yes.
And I know that both of us thought, well, that's just how these are. But I'm pretty sure it turns out that that's actually a feature of the Shoe One and other devices like it, where it has technology in it, for whatever reason, to obscure the vendor ID and the product ID of the USB device that's connecting to it, thereby, I believe, making 5 computers look like they all have different kinds of
Ooh.
mice and keyboards.
Yeah.
That is what makes it
That's,
so that you can't use your Corsair software, because
Yeah.
the AIM-OS device, and I'm sure I know there are other brand names on this same device that you can get from Walmart, Alibaba, all over the
Yeah.
place. They don't have VID and PID like reassignment, so you can use the drivers for your keyboard or your mouse,
Okay.
assuming that you do it smart. So like I have found that if I've got let's say my mouse, I've got the configuration tool for that, I've got it on my laptop and my desktop.
Yeah.
If I plug it in and then I swap back and forth between the two, things start to get weird.
Yeah, I
So
could
you
see
sort
that.
of have to like pick a computer and only configure it on that one, and then probably unplug it, close the software on the other one if you want to go through the rigmarole of working on it with a different
So
computer. But
do you see that obscurity then? Do you see that as like a benefit that it's kind of making it not showing that it's like being mimicked then? Like,
you know what? Not in a way I think we should really care about. I mean, because if
gotcha.
it comes down to that, like,
Yeah.
if it comes down to that mattering,
That is
I think
true.
it's time to
we're in a
pack
bad
up our
yeah,
switches and
exactly.
call it a day.
Yeah, we're in a bad
Right.
spot as it is.
Because I mean, actually, I just gotta say, like, this hardware multiboxing thing is all very interesting to me. I mean, I love the fact we have access to this sort of hardware. It's way less expensive. I looked
my
at this
God, yeah.
in the Burning Crusade,
Yeah.
and like you couldn't find anything except for Vetro back then. At least
You were
as far as I
probably going
remember.
to spend like $6,000 altogether.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
you
not.
probably
Yeah,
spent
I'm not sure if
$1,000.
you. I'm not sure if you mentioned it either, though. But like when I first looked at it, like I came synchronizers, I found Vetra, right? And Vetra is like the one that people use back then. But it was just
Yeah, like the gold standard.
it's like so expensive. I was like, oh, well, you know what, the guys, this is it. You know that's not
Nice knowing you,
realistic.
right?
Yeah.
Pack it in.
But then I was like, oh, I found this one for $35. I was like, well, hold
Hey,
on. Yeah.
hey, someone, dude.
Yeah,
That's
you.
what I
me.
said. Yeah, exactly.
me.
That's what I
I
thought
don't know
it
where
was.
on the internet you went lurking for that one, but
Yeah. And then I was like,
Well,
okay, so let's
so-
give that a shot. And then it works. It's
Right.
great.
The thing is, like, the Vetra is called, like, it's got its own set of terminology, but then, like, the stuff that's on Amazon and a lot of the other places, like, they didn't really use the same words. So, like, it took a little while to find the right, like, Google foo to, like,
Yes.
nail down what exactly the rest of the world was calling this.
Yes.
And once I figured it out, then we got a whole bunch of options. And this is another good example of me doing something, running it by days, and then finding out, oh wait, my first thought isn't going to meet muster for this guy I'm watching 3 times a week. So I should go find the thing that's going to work for him so I can see him use it.
Yeah.
So I bought that 4-port right away. And he's like, but it
you
doesn't do
guys are
5.
all
I'm like,
beta testers for the rest of us.
totally. And so then I found the 8-port one. And,
That's awesome.
I
I
bought them both.
appreciate that.
I'm glad I did, because if I hadn't pulled the trigger on the cheap one, I don't think I wouldn't know anything about this vendor ID obscuring and the difference between the mouse
Yeah.
positioning. And it's been really helpful just to see it in practice with 2 different devices.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
it's awesome. I'm really glad that it's because it's still a barrier to entry, by getting these products, but it's not like the barrier to entry. Like if Vetra was the only option out there, I mean, then that we'd be some pretty big pain.
It's a hard sell.
Computer.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, it'd be like basically having
It's a
your own
hard
machine.
sell to spend $500 on something that serves one function. And
Yes.
oh, by the way, if this gets banned, it's not like you can. All right, kids, here's my Vetra. Like,
Yeah. No, it just gets stuck in a box somewhere and you never use it again. Yeah.
Can I play Minecraft on that? Nope.
It's interesting though. I actually use a software KVM for my home office setup. So I've got like a number of different types of machines that I use for work. Like just like we have a Mac client, for instance. So I have a Mac laptop set up that I like access. So it's definitely useful technology that has validity in the real world, but the average human doesn't need a KVM for anything.
Yeah, no, and even
Most
then,
one with, like,
in
2 ports.
server sides too, like even in on racks and everything, it's not as popular as they used to be because there's so
No,
many.
you just have software.
Yeah, exactly, and there's so many pieces like now like for different servers where you can tap into it via the IP address. You don't need all that
Yeah,
stuff anymore.
Windows RDC, unless you're not using a Windows-based machine. But
Yeah, so
Use
even
it's,
that.
then,
it's different.
I'm not a
Yeah.
hardware guy. I really don't belong in this conversation. But
No, that's okay. We're getting all different samples here, right?
see, you guys really love this stuff, and that's why I think it's like great that you guys are getting into this, because like if it were me navigating this, I'd be like totally lost. Like I know what I'm good at. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I stay in my lane. Hardware and networking.
I would say Wooten has a much more better grasp on the different things. Basically, I was like, all right, how do I get this thing to broadcast? All right, I'm done. Like that was it. Like I was just like, all right, I'm back in the game. Which is the same thing I used IS Boxer for like literally like years. It was like, okay, broadcast my keystrokes, good. All right, I'll do everything else, not using it. And it wasn't until like you guys said like even like started using the pro system like the last 6 months, then I started like actually dabbling into it. And I was like, oh my god, I haven't been using all these features for the longest time. I could have been, more powerful than ever. I don't know, but we'll see.
You may never know unless you have to go to Final Fantasy.
I know that is an option too. I'm still intrigued by it, and there's actually been quite a few people doing it and playing it and succeeding at it as well because it has still challenging content.
I'm monoboxing it right now. I'm having a blast.
You're enjoying it?
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I love so much about the game.
Yeah.
Like I actually really am just enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Tell me how long do you have to go through cutscenes?
Oh man.
There's no I couldn't do it. I wanted to, so I'm like,
I know it's a one-time thing though. It's a
what's
one-time
wrong with
thing.
sound?
You know what's funny about that is I played Star Wars when it came out, like SWTOR, like the original. I hate Star Wars. I've never watched a Star Wars movie from beginning to end. Like I just can't get into it. Like something about like that whole like intergalactic like RPG thing, or role playing thing, I just can't get into it. Like I'm not like trying to like people that are into it. That's cool. You enjoy what you enjoy.
Movies too, or just the games.
But that game was pretty much just the story. Like if you didn't enjoy the story of that game had nothing for you. And I was absolutely that person. And I skipped every single cutscene imaginable. But then
this is Knights of the Old Republic, right? You're talking about? Or wait, no. What's it called? The Old Republic, right?
Yeah, I think that's
the first MMO to do all voice acting for its quest, right?
It was a phenomenal game. Like if you enjoyed the story, it was phenomenal. If you didn't,
and you skipped over like the main selling point.
Every single one. I couldn't tell you what happened in that game. Like I couldn't tell you what the plot of that game was.
It was still just quests. Just quests. It's just a lot of quests.
I'm hesitant on speaking of Star Wars too because I have a kind of a same thing where I've never really gotten into it as much as I feel like it feels like I should be into it more, right? Because it's very fantasy based and all that. But we're even not trying to, but we've been watching The Mandalorian too on TV as keeping the wife Karma happy. And I don't know, it feels weird. It feels dated at the same time. Maybe that's the issue, but that's just the style of it. So I don't know.
Star Wars, there is no drive. Like
good, yeah. So the recap back on the Final Fantasy thing. If you really enjoy IS Boxer and you don't have the resources to hardware box, I would highly suggest if you're listening to this as an alternative,
play it solo. The trial allows you to play up to level 60.
Okay, you could do that too. Yeah,
you can play any class you want. You can change your class midway through.
Yeah.
And if you play on like a preferred server, you get 100% XP bonus. Like, I got to level 30 in a few hours. I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun game if you've never explored it. Try to get past the whole like Final Fantasy like anime culture thing because I don't want to upset more people, but I'm not a huge fan of that either.
But you're still enjoying it though. Beyond that.
Yeah, no, I think the game's great.
So it is a different artistic style, but it's still the graphics are still amazing, and for multiboxing, it's pretty close to World of Warcraft in the same kind of style. The response time is a little slower, but I hear it picks up though at higher levels. I've never gotten to the highest levels where it's very fast, but it's still challenging content.
They have like different types of GCDs, and I think the best way to think about it would be like a warrior swing timer.
Yes.
So they have like some abilities where like it's on that GCD, but then you have other abilities that are kind of off the GCD. And then they've got like combos, so it's interesting. I like it though.
Yeah.
I think it will present many challenges for multiboxing, and I'm excited to get into them when it goes on sale, hopefully soon.
I can't wait to see you do that.
I'm excited.
I really want you to sell that on me because, like, okay, today we talked about. I thought Rift was going to be my plan B, and you said source subject. And as much as I want to know But
I will make a
should-
video at some point. I was like I've recorded like probably 10 or 12 hours of Rift gameplay that I've been meaning to put into a video, but I'm trying to find like the right mix to really get my emotions together. I haven't quit the game yet, but I've all but quit.
Man, it's rough when it lasts a week.
I played a lot.
Okay.
So
You could have said that going
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
I played
You said
a
it would
lot.
be like shelf life would be low on Rift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like rushed to level 65 and now I'm just like banging my head against the wall. It might get better, but the way I'm looking at it is it's going to be like an hour investment a day for the next like month, and then I'm probably going to get bored.
Look at it as like you win. Done.
Well, yeah, they haven't updated the game in 3 years. Like they haven't added content.
Oh, that'll do
So
it.
I've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, should Final Fantasy be my plan B or plan C at that point?
I think
If this blows up. Wow, I mean,
Yes, for
I
sure.
think
For sure.
yeah, I think
For
it
sure.
depends on like where you want to go and like how much time you want to put into it. I think Rift is fun to explore. I think if I've learned anything throughout this whole like process of like basically getting exiled from WoW, it's that every other MMO out there has like a decent amount of stuff to offer, and they're all kind of enjoyable in their own way as long as you give it kind of that opportunity. So I'm actually excited that I've gotten to play these different games, and they've been somewhat
Yeah.
enjoyable to some degree. Even if Rift is like kind of a shiny, flaming piece of garbage, like it's been fun to some degree.
Yeah.
shiny, right?
It's nice and shiny, and then you're like, oh man, they really missed the mark on a few things.
On
Yeah.
fire.
And
It
there's
smells bad.
there's a bunch of other options out there too. But yeah, if you're looking for something, if you want the challenge as well as having the MMO experience, it's still really good. I think the part that made it a little more difficult for me is I don't know how on yours, or actually it was Yiger in chat. He showed like he was running 4 on his older machine and it was only using 50% of his CPU. But I went 4 on mine and it bottled me out at max. Like I couldn't run it. Which when
Final Fantasy.
for Final Fantasy, yeah. So the really important thing is like I was doing a dungeon, and I needed to dodge mechanics. And the mechanics are really cool in there because it
I think that's
telegraphs
most
you.
of the game.
What's that?
I think that's like most of the game. Is it's less about like making sure you push the right DPS buttons and more
Yes.
about like getting out of stuff.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, and telegraphing is great in it though because like it says like all right, it's going to hit exactly this area. You just need to make sure you're not in this area. So when I would move my characters though, there would be like a little bit of a pause and a delay, and then they would finally move over, and then they would kind of like drag on a little bit. I think it was because I was hitting 100% CPU. So my goal is to still get that new PC down the road here, maybe after Christmas and the holidays end, and maybe we'll see where the wife's at on that front. But I still would like to explore it too. I don't know. I still have an
Zero
itch for
just
it.
said what I was thinking. It's like you can hardware box now. If you're
You
having
could.
frame issues,
That is true. You're
you
right.
could hardware box Final Fantasy.
That is
Good point,
that is
Darth.
a really good point. Yeah,
I kind of see it potentially going in that direction too, right? Like I could totally see other game publishers following suit, and then if you want to multi-box, you end up having to hardware multi-box regardless.
yes.
And I think that's the point at which I would probably return to WoW. But I think unless that scenario happens, I'm probably going to continue to explore other games.
I don't see that so much in Final Fantasy as well because the big problem points that we have in WoW that I think that we've hypothesized what caused these reaction by Blizzard. You don't have those same issues in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, time will tell, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's really hard to speculate. It's kind of exhausting to speculate.
Agreed. Yeah. So on that note, I mean, there's a bunch of fun out there still. This is not going away anytime soon, and we'll definitely have a podcast number 4.
Yeah, it'll be Shadowlands launch, so we'll
That's
be
right.
talking all things Shadowlands
I
and
think-
probably complaining about how the servers aren't up.
I think we're gonna still try for it. I think that's the goal, right?
Yeah,
Is just
no,
to
let's
that.
do it.
Yeah. Okay, I think so. Because even if it's live, I mean, I think I have more fun.
I'll just watch you. I'll just watch you play Shadowlands, and then I'll be like, thank God I'm not playing that piece of.
Yeah. The servers are down. I was like, at least we can chat it up though, so that's what matters.
Yeah, thanks
Hayes is
everyone
the
for
hero we don't deserve, right? You know what you said, Zach?
What's that?
Yeah,
No,
The hero we-
You're the hero we don't deserve.
yeah. Thanks
No.
for spending the money. So I don't have to.
It was I calculated it up. I was surprised at how much I thought I spent on bare bones, but it was still almost $700 to get it to where I'm at, even though I already had the machines and everything going.
I think to do it right, I'd probably need to spend 15 just because I don't have a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing was I mean a big chunk of that $400 almost was just the graphics cards, and I got a graphics card that probably you didn't have to get that big good of one, but the 1030.
It's gonna last you through.
Yeah, exactly. And then hypothetically, like you guys were mentioning, I didn't even really think about that, but Final Fantasy, I could definitely play that probably then too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I got options now.
Glad I don't throw computer hardware away because I don't even want to think about it.
I know. I'm so happy. My wife was always like, "Get rid of this crap."
I can use that. Oh, and I got that video card that I haven't used in forever. I'm like, I could put these together. I'm like, okay, whoa, I'm up to 4 computers now. I'm like,
yeah. And then you're like,
Linux box.
You did say you took away the entertainment center from the kids, right? They can't, like, what about the TV? We can't watch movies anymore. It's like, you don't care.
They're off it because all the kids watch is YouTube. That's all they watch. They don't care about TV. They just want to watch other people, play with toys, play with video games, all that stuff. So
yeah. So I'm not going to comment on the screen, but if anybody's watching, we do have a special guest at the moment.
Hey, I'm not even filling these shoes. I'm just a placeholder for a bigger man than me. Right?
How tall are you? Mariah's pretty tall.
Yeah.
Is he? I'm 5'11 and a half.
Yeah, he's definitely taller than you.
I do the same thing. The wife always gives me a hard time for not being 6 feet. What can you do?
I'm That's this awesome. Close. So close, but not quite. It doesn't matter. I don't feel short. I think I'm shorter than everybody else, though, huh? Like shorter than you, Zach. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm like Mariah's height. He might be a little bit taller. I'm like 6'4".
What?
9 feet? Did you say? You're 9 feet tall.
Yeah. This is a real size door behind me. All right, you guys have a good night. I'm gonna go play.
It was good.
Thank you very much. It was really fun to talk to you guys.
No, I appreciate it.